recording.
Okay.
Thank you, Amber. Move to open the meeting.
So
Second.
moved. Second.
All in
third.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is open, folks. If you're watching from home, if you have any problems with the way that you're watching, we are on Zoom, we are on the YouTube streaming channel, and we are on LMC TV. So any of those should work for you, and they are all available on the posted agenda. This is a work session. We don't have votes on applicant issues tonight. We're going to do applicant completeness for 3 applications and move to our administrative agenda. I guess the first thing up we all know fairly well, which is 1165 Grecian Point. The last time this was on our agenda, it was taken off at the applicant's request shortly before the meeting. It's our understanding that they believe their application is stronger with the permit, the county health department permit for a septic finalized. We've said that their analysis is different, for the county's analysis is different from ours, and that's not dispositive. It doesn't bind us and has very little to do with our determination, but it remains our procedural position that the applicant can make the strongest application they think they can make if they want to pull something off because they have another piece of paper coming, a determination they can get done, something they think makes the file more complete. They are welcome to do that. I guess the only question I have is there anything new going to happen with 1165 Grecian between now and next Wednesday, other than a go, don't go based on whether or not the county gets the permit done? Anybody know?
No, I mean, that almost seems like a question that would be for the applicant, right? And what I see posted that's new is it's not much, it's some site plans, and then it's their cover letter really addressing Kellard Sessions. So I don't know, because I don't see anything from the County Department of Health on the septic available to us yet. Do you agree? Everyone agree? I'm not missing something?
I didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and of course we'll review the Kellard Sessions stuff and we'll discuss it if it comes on. I feel silly asking this, but is there anything anybody thinks they need to know, assuming it is up Wednesday, that we haven't flagged for a prior meeting that we didn't know we needed for a prior meeting? I don't.
Yeah, if you don't mind, it's going to sound like a little bit of a broken record month to month here, but we mentioned the County Department of Health permit, and I think we've had discussions about that in the past. Are we going to ask Mazer to attend next week's meeting? Have we done that yet?
We have done that, and they have said that they would be in attendance, but they're not in
Okay.
attendance at the work session because we're not.
Yep.
There's no vote.
Understood. And then I had a question for Esteban, because Esteban, I believe that the last memo that we have from you is on 4/16, but it looks like a later dated letter from the applicant says that they made some changes to the I think the stormwater plan. Let me look. It's a brief letter, cover letter here. And I didn't know if you planned to look at that, if the site plans were the same, or if you were going to produce an additional memo or confirmatory type of write-up with a later date.
My recollection with talking with the applicant's engineer was that over the months they produced, going back and forth with several different iterations of different plans. I did tell him, I did issue prematurely the I guess the memo. Come to find out they didn't, I did tell them to, hey, make sure that you guys had a conformed updated set per the latest memo that I have. I saw that they did that obviously at the end of the, last week when they submitted their new site plans. So I haven't had a chance to go through the updated site plans, but from what my recollection is that they already addressed all the my comments, engineering comments, based off the latest memo that I had prior to submitting the latest memo that I have posted online. But I can definitely go through it again, just update all the drawings to make sure that everything lines up correctly.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful, and you know, other commissioners, please weigh in, of course. But if we could get either a brief memo or an email would be fine for me, but something from you that says, "Hey, I've reviewed all the latest. There's been new site plans posted for this meeting," and give us your confirmation that everything is, you know, consistent and addressed.
Okay.
Particularly since we do on here have you know, some resident comments related to the, you know, the record of the correct site plans being stamped and reviewed by you, as well as, you know, the view on whether cisterns are acceptable water quality practice. So I think it'd be helpful to get your, you know, final thoughts and confirm that the site plans that we have are the ones that you've reviewed, are the latest, and are consistent with addressing all of your issues.
Okay, will do.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Anybody else on 1165?
Nope.
Okay, we have two new applicants. They both fall into the same category. We discussed at our last meeting this circumstance where there are a few properties that sort of narrowly miss the exemption. In this case, I think both of them because of size. There's an exemption for no external changes, no use change only within the existing zoning, and smaller than 8,000 square feet that don't come before us at all. And there are two that I think are just a little too big to meet that category. They're both in the commercial area. One is 1124 Palmer Avenue. So that's the old, what was the New York Sports Club site. And there's a new business moving in there. But this really goes for both of them. TJ, I want to make sure I understand this, but typically we see every new applicant for a preliminary review, and then we bring them back for consistency, usually because there's a fair amount to look at. And as you know, we're pretty careful about making our record on all of our policies. There may be circumstances, especially with these kind of properties, where we can make an adequate record that we all feel comfortable voting on consistency at a single meeting. Is there any bar due to our past practice or any rule you know of to us moving to a vote at the first meeting for an applicant where we believe that that we can make a sufficient record to make our determination?
No, I don't. I don't think there's any bar. I think that you could take care of this all in one meeting. An example where it would be different is if this was perhaps an unlisted action or a type 1 action, and then we would have to do seeker first. But these are both type 2 actions. So I think at the May 19th meeting, is that the date of the meeting? I think that both of these can get taken care of. If that's what the board wants to do.
Well, you know what I ask every time we're going to take a vote. I ask my fellow commissioners if they have sufficient information to take their vote, and if we don't, then we're not going to move to a vote the first night.
Right.
But I foresee it as possible that both those applicants will be able to address this in such a way that we are sure that it raises that we have enough information to make a determination based on what we have before us at the first meeting. So we're holding open that possibility. The applicants should be ready for that. If they've been before us or know how we do things, they'll know that it's typical they have to come back. If they can make a complete record on the first night, especially these kind of no external work, no new square footage, no added impervious area, existing building, just changing the occupant, That kind of an application, it is possible we'll be able to make the record in one night. They should know that and be prepared to try to help us do that and walk through anything we need to know as quickly as possible. It's, I think, in everybody's interest, applicant and commission, that where we can do so, we do these applications with as few touches as we can.
So let me just ask a quick question, because I was trying to figure out exactly what it is with respect to these applications that we are evaluating or looking to see. And I take it that it is that nothing has really changed that is within our ambit. Is that what it boils down to?
Well, let me put it to you that, I don't like to prejudge
can-
anything that we vote on, but let me put
Uh-huh.
it to you this way. As you go down through the list of 44 policies, if you're looking at this building and thinking, well, how the heck is that changing? And you get to 44 and you said, how the heck is that changing for 44 in a row? Though, some of them are not in use. I think we actually have 38. Then you will probably reach the conclusion that you can go ahead and vote on it with no additional information.
Okay.
Right. There's an exemption for properties where really nothing's changing, but that exemption is capped at square foot.
Right.
If
We
something's
discussed these are
sufficiently
too
large,
big.
we
These
at
are too
least
big to
look at
fit
it.
that. Right. I got it.
Right. So where they don't fall within the exemption, but they may not pose any issue that we really have to think too hard about. It may be a very straightforward call on every policy, in which case we wouldn't need to bring them back for additional information before we vote. If we see something, if one of these, for example, raised issues of water dependent use or was going to put out a lot of water and we need to figure out what they're going to do with it, then we would probably have to bring them back. And in that case, we'll decide that we're not voting the first night. But if there's no such issue and we all think we know enough to cast a vote, then we can go ahead and do that. So that applies to 124 Palmer. That's the old New York Sports Club site. And that applies to 275 Mamaroneck Avenue, which was the CVS site and has been purchased as a new church location. So with that, if anybody's got particular questions about 124 Palmer, now's a good time to raise it so that the applicants know what's coming.
Yeah, I have just kind of one procedural thing. It's related, I suppose, to both of them. Amber, it looks to me like the HCZM application from 275 Mamaroneck Ave is listed under Palmer Ave. And so, and I think that file might be missing a page, like maybe the second page. I'm not too fussed by it, but if it exists, it might be helpful to see that. And then this is maybe a question back to you, Thomas, or to council, TJ, but I don't believe that I see an application from 124 Palmer Ave. Should they be filling out the HCZM application to come to us?
I thought they were told they should, and it just hadn't gone up yet.
Okay.
Am I confused about where that is procedurally?
Yeah, that should be up there. So I will circle back once I have access to my files tomorrow. And
So they have submitted they have submitted an application.
yes, but if it sounds like there are some documents that did not make it onto Novus, so let me just double check that tomorrow, and I'll be in touch. If the applicant has submitted something insufficient, we can remove it from the agenda. But to my awareness, it should be up there. So I'll just have to look at what's going on with Novus.
Okay, thank you. This would be, if we're gonna move it as expeditiously as possible, it's the applicant's got to help us do that and make sure that the paperwork is and to be fair, right? Staff works awfully hard. If an applicant should be able to spot, they know where the agenda is. The applicant should be able to spot if something doesn't go up or isn't the full set of papers that they've provided. The earlier we can get that squared away, the more helpful it is You know, I would love to be able to two-touch every application if we could. We'll never achieve that. But a couple of one touches might improve the average. All right, so that's 124 Palmer. They don't appear to have their application up. That needs fixed right away. 275, I took a look through. I don't have any questions about 275. I think I understand what they put up. Anyone else?
I also just quickly want to say, sometimes the Novus system, sometimes it is just an issue with the system. So if the board members notice that these things are, you know, not, something doesn't look quite right before the meeting, you can always email me and we can try to like coordinate and figure it out before, you know, the day of the meeting, just for future.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that gets us through those two. I want to flag an upcoming item. We're going to have to put on the agenda for the meeting. There's an application by the village on in-kind, in-place replacement of docks. So we should get to that as quickly as we can. It's not up yet, but when it is, if everybody could take a look at that right away. They've submitted an application. We got a request for comment from the state. We've got, in theory, 30 days to do that, but as quickly as we can move that application would be good. So if we have something to say back to the state, let's either decide what we think of the application or decide if there's concerns we need to raise with the state next Wednesday night. And if we need to, and whatever letter we need to write to the state, I want marching orders to draft it right away so I can get it turned around this week. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Once again, I'm going to be the one that kicks this over to the meeting. I will have them reviewed by then, so I'll be ready to vote. I don't like to vote on minutes if I haven't had any time with them. And I think that is our agenda. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. We have managed to be extremely efficient at the work sessions for, I think, 3 times in a row. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I think we can all get back to our night. So I'm going to move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you, folks.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Take care.